Hey, everybody. Happy Father's Day to come. And in honor of Father's Day, I'm wearing a special outfit. It fulfills a dad's purposes in two ways. One, I really like it here. I've even got the racing stripe down the pants. I like how I look in it, and my kids hate seeing me in it. So it's like a win-win for a dad to wear something like this. Anyway, happy Father's Day. Dads are almost the best. Not quite up, but almost. And I just want to talk a little bit about my dad, Leopold Van Dyke. Leo Van Dyke. He passed away a little over 14 years ago. And I remember when I was little, I asked him, Dad, why don't you have a middle name? And he said, well, as if you know him, he'd say, his humor, well, I couldn't afford one. And he was saying it as a joke, but the reality is he did grow up in poverty. He grew up in old Bosnia, and then moved into Germany as a young boy. And then this is a picture of him working in Germany as a teenager. He was delivering bread. He had to drop out of school in sixth grade to make money for the family, and he was about 1 or 2 years too young to be called into the Nazi army. His older brothers were, and one of his roles during that time is when the sirens went off, when a bomb went off, there was an old paralyzed person in the apartment building that he'd live in, so he'd have to run up the stairs, put them over their shoulder, and carry them out. And he recalled at least one near miss. And so my dad moved over in 1950. He moved over to Minnesota with his sisters and his mom. And when you think of it, here's a guy, heavy German accent, sixth grade education, doesn't know the language. There was so little hope for him in his land, his homeland, that he thought it would be a better opportunity to come to a brand new country, knowing very few people. He had relatives that moved to the St. Paul area, and he came here and he started to forge a future for himself. One of his great joys was soccer, and him and some of his friends actually started the first soccer club in the entire state of Minnesota, St. Paul Soccer Club, and they play teams from Winnipeg, Milwaukee, Chicago, all over, because there were no teams here to play. And so he went to technical school, and then he got a job and controlled that, and he was always, he was a hard worker. And, I remember my dad, he had a lot of anxiety over finances and money, and, it kind of bugged me as a kid seeing that, but as he got older, I kind of got it. When I was a young adult, I remember him telling me at Christmas, almost in tears, he said, John, when I was a boy, all I wanted for Christmas was just an orange, because we didn't have anything. And I noticed my dad, when he retired, all of a sudden, all that stress, not all of it, but most of it just left him, because I think he finally felt like he made it. His goal was to forge a life, and to forge a better life for his family than he had himself, and he did it. And I have, my dad's my hero. And he was a humble guy and a hard worker, and his word was his bond. And to me, he was my hero. When I think of being a dad, I have 4 kids, the responsibility and the humility and the honor of being a dad, I always remember a story I read about 20 years ago, and it stuck with me. It's a true story of a young family, and they got invited to go to their friend's cabin for the week just by themselves, and they didn't have their own cabin, so they're up just enjoying cabin life, and mom and dad and young kids. And it was one morning after breakfast, and mom was in the kitchen just kind of cleaning up, and dad was out in the yard just doing this, that, and the other thing. And a couple of the young kids were on the dock, and they had a 3-year-old boy, and he there was a boat right next to the dock. And so you probably remember this. If he stood on the boat and you stand on the dock, the boat starts getting further away, that it reaches the end of the rope and then comes back together. So this little boy he was playing this game, and he was doing it, and it got too far away, and he lost his balance, and he fell in, and he's just a 3-year-old boy. And so he had an older sister on the dock, just shrieks, screams. And the mom stops, the dad runs out, what happened? And he said, your little brother fell in. And so, everybody's freaking out. So the dad dives in. It's muddy, it's mucky. There's a boat there, there's a dock, and he's just reaching everywhere as he's down there, and he's running out of breath. And so he gets up to get breath because he's out, and he looks around. No, the boy's not there yet. So he goes down again, and he's looking all over because he can't see anything. It's too muddy, and he's almost running out of breath again. As he comes up, he feels his little son wrapped around the dock post under the water. And he pries his son out. He lifts him up. The son, he's still breathing. And after all the intensity and the drama is over, the dad said, honey, what were you doing holding on to that dock? And the little boy said in 3-year-old language, he said, I was just waiting for you, Dad. I was just waiting for you. And some of my kids are older. They don't need us in the same way as they did when they were little, but at every stage in their life, they really need a dad who they know would sacrifice anything for them. And so for all you amazing dads out there who I know do that, God bless you and thank you. And it's the greatest gift you can give to your kids. Thanks.